Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing fine. So in today's video, I will be talking about the different types of algae. Dear students, in the previous video, I had explained you the concept of algae, that is, how is the structure of algae, what are the different uses of algae. At the same time, I had explained you what are the different modes of reproduction of algae. So in today's video, I will be talking about the different types of algae. So let's begin with the video. Now dear students, the very first type of algae, what is the name of that algae? It is called as Chlorophyll. Now dear students, basically here the word chloro, which comes from the word chlorophyll, and you all know that what is chlorophyll? Chlorophyll is nothing but pigment which is present in the green plants. So it is the pigment which is actually responsible for giving green color to the plants, right? At the same time, you all know that it helps in photosynthesis. So chloro word comes from the pigment that is chlorophyll. It is very commonly known as green algae because from the word itself, chloro means chlorophyll pigment which gives green color to the algae, right? At the same time, what is the speciality of this algae? Dear students, this algae, it can be unicellular. Again, unicellular means it is made up of one cell, or it can be colonial. Colonial means it can be present in the form of many groups, right? So the word colonial comes from the word of colony, and colony means a group of cells. So in the background, you can see on the screen, there is this particular example of algae, right? And this example of algae is nothing but volvox, as you can see on the screen. So inside the volvox, there are group of cells, or you can see the group of algae which are present inside the volvox. They form a colony. So it is an example of a colonial algae. There can be some other examples of algae also, which can be filamentous. So filamentous means basically the body of algae is like thread. So the very common example, can you recollect, dear students? Yes, the very common example of filamentous algae is Spirogyra. So here are the various examples on the screen you can see of green algae, which can be, for example, it can be Chara, or it can be Spirogyra, or it can be Ulothrix. In Chara, basically you can see it has somewhat plant-like structure, but as we all know that the algae are the most simplest types of plants. They are placed under the first division, that is nothing but thallophytes. So they do not have well-defined structures. They do not have well-developed structures like root, stem and leaves. So they are very much simple in structure. So in the pictures itself, you can see that, like for example in Chara, they are just stem-like structures. In Spirogyra, they are thread-like, that is, they are filamentous. Ulothrix, again an example of filamentous algae. Then we have volvox, which is a beautiful example of a colonial algae, right, dear students? And yes, of course, you can see that here there is another example of algae which is known as Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas, which means these are nothing but unicellular algae. Unicellular, again the word unicellular means they are made up of one cell. Okay, now dear students, going ahead, now what are the ways by which they reproduce? In the video of algae, I had explained you what are the different ways of how the algae actually reproduces. So again, recollecting the same, the way by which the algae actually reproduces is by all the three types of reproduction, right? What are the three basic types of reproduction? These are nothing but the vegetative reproduction, right? It can be asexual reproduction or it can be sexual reproduction. So always remember, plants can undergo all the three types of reproduction, that is vegetative, asexual as well as sexual reproduction. Now what do we mean by vegetative? Here the word vegetative means that in case of certain algae, basically from the body itself, the new algae can be formed. Like how is this possible, right? So let me give you an example. Like the example is Spirogyra. Dear students, the Spirogyra algae, it is basically in the form of threads, right? So this particular algae, when it forms fragments, or you can say when a small part of the body of Spirogyra separates from that cut portion the new algae can be formed. So what is this type of reproduction called? It is called as fragmentation. So since the new algae is getting formed from a small fragment of algae, it is called as fragmentation, and it is a vegetative type of reproduction because it is formed from the body itself, right? Now another type of reproduction is called as asexual reproduction, which also certain algae can perform. Asexual reproduction is performed with the help of spores, my dear friends. So spores are formed in certain algae. What are these spores? These are nothing but asexual spores, and basically, dear students, spores are always haploid in nature, right? So these spores, when they are formed inside the body of an algae, these spores get released, and from the spores the new algae can be formed. And these spores are sometimes very commonly called as zoospores. Let me repeat, dear students, these asexual spores in certain algae which are formed, they are also called as zoospores. Now again, one more type of reproduction which can occur in algae is reproduction. This is nothing but a sexual reproduction. Now sexual reproduction, how do the algae perform sexual reproduction? Reproduction is performed with the help of gametes. We all know that whenever we talk about sexual reproduction, there has to be the formation of gametes, and based on the gametes there are three basic types of sexual reproduction in algae, which are nothing but isogamy, oogamy, as well as anisogamy. Want to know what is isogamy, what is oogamy, and what is anisogamy? Please, again, I would recommend you all to watch the earlier video of algae, because in that video I have very clearly explained you the three basic types of reproduction, that is nothing but based on the gametes. Okay, so going ahead, dear students, now the next type of algae. The next type of algae is known as Phaeophyceae. Phaeophyceae, which is also very commonly called as brown. As far as the structure of this particular algae is concerned, brown algae is mostly multicellular in nature, and it has got a little more developed structure compared to, you can say, green algae. Now as you can see that here, basically this particular type of algae has got a stem-like structure, right? And below the stem it has got a small thread-like structures which act like the roots, but they are not the roots, dear students. They are basically thread-like structures with the help of which this particular algae, that is brown algae, can attach to the surface. So whenever they are present inside the water, they can get attached to the you can see the ocean bed, or for example the river bed, right? So wherever they are present, they can get attached to the surface with the help of these small thread-like structures, and these small thread-like structures are called as the holdfast. They are known as the holdfast. So again, let me tell you, these are small thread-like structures by which the algae can attach to the ground surface, right? Then comes the stem-like structure. Now this stem-like structure is called as the frond, and then comes these leaf-like structures which are present basically, and these leaf-like structures are known as the blades, right? And inside these blades sometimes they also have basically the gas bladders, and these gas bladders are like the vacuoles inside the leaves, and because of these vacuoles, basically these vacuoles contain the air, and as a result of which basically the overall weight, the overall density of the brown algae decreases, and that's the reason why they can float inside the water. Now going ahead, dear students, that this particular brown algae, now you might be wondering that how this brown color is coming in the brown algae. So for that, of course, there has to be certain pigment in plants, right? Like we studied about the green algae. The green algae, in green algae the color green was because of the chlorophyll pigment, dear students. Now here the color of the brown algae, it is majorly because of the pigments, which are nothing but pigments like fucoxanthin, which actually gives it a brown color. At the same time, they can also have pigments like xanthophyll, so they can appear from brown to dark brown in color depending on the pigment, dear students. And what kind of food do they contain? What kind of stored food they contain? Like for example, in green algae, the stored food was starch. In case of the brown algae, the stored food is nothing but laminarin or mannitol. On what is laminarin or mannitol? It is basically a complex form of carbohydrate which is majorly stored in the brown algae. Okay, now again talking about the major types of reproduction in case of brown algae, dear students, as we already know that there are three basic types of reproduction in algae, that is vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So same thing again is applicable for brown algae. For brown algae also the vegetative reproduction is by the method of fragmentation. The asexual reproduction is by the formation of spores, and the sexual reproduction is via the formation of gametes, right? So again talking about basically the spores here, but here one thing which we need to know here, and that is very interesting, is the spores which are called as the zoospores. These are basically biflagellate. Now dear students, try to understand, when I say biflagellate, it means bi means again two, and flagellate means they have flagella. Flagella is nothing but thread-like structure. So as you can see on the screen that here the zoospore has got two thread-like structures, and these thread-like structures are known as flagella, and that's why they are known as biflagellate spores. And also the shape of the spore is pear-shaped. So please remember that these zoospores have a pear-shaped structure. The various different examples of brown algae, dear students, as you can see that it can be in the form of ectocarpus, or brown algae can be fucus. Sometimes it can be laminaria, or it can be even dictyota, or sometimes it can be the brown algae can be sargassum. So these are the different examples of brown algae, dear students, and please remember these examples. Third and the last type of algae, this is nothing but the red algae, dear students. So red algae, it is also very commonly called as Rhodophyceae. Now as far as the red algae is concerned, what is the pigment which gives them the red color? The name of the pigment is R-phycoerythrin. Dear students, here the word small r is nothing but, it stands for red color because it actually absorbs the red light. So among the different wavelengths of visible light, this particular plant absorbs the red color wavelength, and that's why the name of the pigment, that is the phycoerythrin, it absorbs the red color wavelength, and that's why the color of this particular plant is red in color, and the name of the pigment is R-phycoerythrin. Whereas what is the stored food? The stored food is also known as floriding starch. It's a slightly modified form of starch, so you can remember that it is known as floriding starch. What are again the different types of reproduction over here? So here the three major types of reproduction again are nothing but fragmentation. Asexual reproduction is via the formation of spores, as well as the sexual reproduction is nothing but with the help of gametes. Okay, so the same thing that is which was applicable for also brown algae as well as for green algae. So same three types of reproduction are there for red algae as well. Okay, now going ahead, dear students, so let's quickly have a look at the different examples of red algae. These are nothing but Gelidium, dear students. Then there is another beautiful example of red algae, that is Porphyra. Then we have Polysiphonia, and we also have something which is called as Gracilaria. Now these are the different examples of red algae, dear students. So with that, we have covered the three different types of algae, that is nothing but the green algae, the brown algae, and as well as the red algae. So dear students, if you have understood the three different types of algae, please like, share and subscribe to One Page Biology. Share it with your friends. Concept I have explained you all from the 11th standard NCERT Biology textbook. If you want me to make certain more videos on different topics, please mention it in the comment section. So I'll be making more and more biology related videos for you all, and also for school section students I'll be making the videos. So please let me know whatever your suggestions are in the comment section. So I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Till that time, take care. Bye.